Hello there. Oh, I suppose you're here for the 2024 reading wrap-up, yeah? Whew, I guess we better get on with it then, yeah? With the help of my friends here. What are you standing around here for? Go on, get out of here. Can't entertain you all day. The Outsider by Stephen King.
Copacetic.
Copacetic. Copacetic. Finding Me by Viola Davis. Puissant. Oh my god, Viola, I loved you before, but now I am rooting for you with my whole chest. This one really took the cake for Memoir of the Year for me. The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Effulgent.
Effulgent.
Effulgent, I'm saying it right. Effulgent. Need I say more? I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid.
Logorag. Logorag.
That doesn't feel right.
Logorag.
Shut it, stop saying.
Logorag.
Turns out that philosophical and conceptual books are not my thing at all, because I went into this book expecting like a linear narrative and I didn't get a single damn one. So, hated it. Enchanted by Gail, Carson, Levine. Wonderment. This was genuinely and surprisingly really good for a children's book. I still love the movie, even though it's in name only in every sense of the word. Hey, Hugh Dancy is Hugh Dancy. Death in Yellowstone by Lee H. Whittlesey? Whittlesey? Morbidly scholastic. A lot of time and research went into this, which I can really appreciate. My hyperfixation is missing persons in national parks. I don't know why, it's just kind of itches that tingle in my brain, if you will. But there was no better way to start this year than by focusing in on every single death that has ever happened in that park, and it was mesmerizing to read. That clock is really off. Pageboy by Elliot Page. Impermeable and opaque. This is kind of hard to say about a memoir, but this book was really insincere at times. It's obvious that Elliot took great care to write about his story and his journey into his transition, but a lot of this book really felt hollow. It felt like Elliot wasn't willing to be vulnerable or really share those details that typically makes a memoir a memoir. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald, who we hate. Grandiloquent. The Wild Blue by Stephen E. Ambrose. Academic? This was a hard one to find a word for, but I liked it. American Gods by Neil Gaiman. A metaphysical abstract. I mean, this book was really creative, taking the concept of every god that has ever been created in a world like ours, which typically dictates that only one of them can truly exist, and having them all interact with each other in a grand war scale it's fascinating. No Strings Attached by Carolyn Keene. Cromulent. I barely remember any single plot detail about this book, but I remember liking it and being genuinely okay. Go. I remember it being a pretty easy read and kind of fun. The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Astronomically charmed. I had no expectations going into this, but I was really surprised by how cute it was and how well it's withstood the test of time. I mean, I get why it's a classic now. Come here. Say hi to the camera. Meet Samantha, an American Girl story. Author ungoogled. Risible. The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. Aimless. This was a seriously encircling book where it went nowhere, it went in circles, and I felt like at the end I just wasted all the time I took reading it. Next! Dirtwater. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. Engrossing and voracious. This was incredible. Stream Interview with the Vampire on Netflix and AMC Plus. Thank you. Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews.
Wait. My ear is gone! There's people that are dying.
Maliciously addicting. Maliciously? That's maliciously, girl. Can you even read? Maliciously addicting. Those kids deserved a gun. And a lifetime subscription to free therapy. Speaking of therapy, this video is sponsored by BetterHelp. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a sponsorship. Petals on the Wind by V.C. Andrews. This book gave me a longing to defenestrate. What does that word mean, you may ask? Well...
What the fuck?
My review speaks for itself. Dune by Frank Herbert. Quintessential.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Gallery Gourmet, my name is Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis.
Lisa Gib. This was my favorite book of 2024. It was unlike anything I had ever read in my entire life. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. My king. Deliciously hubristic. What, I had to. This was incredible and timeless and surprisingly really relevant in a modern world that emphasizes the importance of individualism, the rise of influencers, and overall self-care that's really masking selfishness. It's surprising how relevant this story is considering the 134 years that has passed since this book was published. It's like time hasn't changed. Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. Garrulous. This book really felt like Stephenie Meyer was unwilling to branch out past her initial success in Twilight, because this book, it could have focused on a number of different things that really could have showcased Meyer's creativity. We could have focused on the family and their different backstories, or how their dynamics have changed over the course of 100 years that they've all lived together. But once again, Meyer has just chosen to focus on Bella and Edward, the two most boring characters in the entire Twilight family. The Stainless Steel Rat by Harry Harrison. Humdrum. The Man with 1,000 Legs by Frank Belknap Long. Tedious. The Land That Time Forgot by Frank... No, that was the last guy. The Land That Time Forgot by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Unmemorable. The Secret in the Stars by Carolyn Keene. How do I say this one?
Diaphanous.
Diaphanous. An easy read with an obvious villain, but it was enjoyable. This is a regular inner drink, and by nuts, my mom brought me in a bag. Where she got them, she won't tell me, so that feels like a mystery. Nut. Okay, let's keep going. 13 Stories by Jonathan Sims. Hunky Dory. It's fine.
Oh my god, lesbians! Rounding the corner with a bunch of lesbians! Here we are, Manhattan! Can you handle it?
Carmilla by J. Sheridan Carmilla by J. Sheridan LaFunu. Wistful. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by
Dun, 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 dun.
Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh my god. Razzmatazz. I couldn't get away from this one. From the setting, to the romance, to the great characterization. It was just enjoyable the whole way through. Much like Daisy Jones and the Six, much of Reid's books are not really about the destination, but more of the characters we met along the way. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Astute. Now this is a memoir. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Oh my god, how do I say that? Oh my god. Sunsucked. Beastly by Alex Finn. Prosaic. This was written horribly, and I know that's mean to say, but myself, and I think also the author, could not figure out who this book was meant for, okay? It has very naive writing choices, so that rules out adults, but then it mentions sex, drugs, self-harm, all in the same sentence, and it's like, okay, so that's not for kids or preteens. So who is this book for? Someone get back to me when y'all figure it out. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. An undeserving deity. This is what y'all have been raving about on Book Talk. I read better Harry Styles fanfictions on Wattpad back in the day that handled domestic abuse and violence in romantic relationships better than this book did. One of Us Is Next by M McManus. Brabble. This book didn't have as strong of a plot or as character motivations as the first one, so while it was addicting, it left me feeling pretty unfulfilled. The Scorched Trials by James Dashner. Mundane. Ugh. The Death Cure by James Dashner. This ending was not earned, nor the sentiment that the author tried to instill in the reader that this was such a climactic ending for our heroes. It felt very written for the movies, if you will. With a more focused plot and better character relations intertwined, I think it could have earned a tear or two from me, but as it stood, I was just ready to get it over with. Sorry, Dylan O'Brien. Making Mavericks by Frosty Henson. Moxie. You know, I didn't realize how many memoirs I read this year, but like, whoa. Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. Ingenious. Princess Bride by William Goldman. Flabbergasted. It's exactly like the movie, except for the domestic abuse that happens between Wesley and Buttercup, so... The Ruins by Scott Smith. Withering. The brutality of this book was so good, especially the ending. I love it when a horror book can commit to that really depressing, somber ending, and this one did. Every character sucks, and they were written incredibly, and whoa, it's a good book. Except it's a little slow in the beginning, so if you go into it with the mindset of knowing you're gonna have to push through the resort slog at the beginning, you'll be good. That was the killer for me. I almost didn't finish this one. Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. Venturousness. What a fun return to the series that I've been procrastinating for 4 years since COVID. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab. Melancholy Arcadian. I have a very complicated relationship to this book. Overall, I feel this book didn't reach its full potential in regards to Addie's curse or the way she navigates the world through time or even the romance. I think with some focus, especially by cutting the slower parts in the beginning and rerouting some of Addie's stories through historical monuments of time, this would have been an instant classic. For me, it fell a little short. Still love you though. The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Saudades. I was really sad for this book to end. It was intense and heartbreaking and mournful and joyful, and I'd never experienced a book that impacted me so much. Should definitely be on everyone's to read. Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Nosferatu.
And with that, our adventure for 2024 is concluded. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Oh, and I hope to see you in next year's book wrap-up. Until then, peace.